Hello, welcome to ImPossible Conversation. I'm your host Suki, and my goal is to introduce you to ordinary people that are doing awesome things, inspiring you and me and others to follow our dreams. ImPossible Conversation is all about you and your story. My guest today is Laura. Laura is a busy mom of two young boys. She runs two businesses and also have a huge number of other commitments. She's passionate about working her businesses around her life as a mom, and the main thing is she makes it work. This is Laura's story. And now I'm going to add Laura in here. Hi.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Suki, for such a lovely introduction.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm literally sorry if everyone's joining us. I'm sorry we're a bit late. You will all know the struggle it is to get small children to sleep, and mine just sang to himself for about an hour
Yeah, I
whilst jumping
totally get
around the
that.
bed. So yeah, they're asleep, and it's mum time now. So it's Laura
Mhm.
time now. So it's good, all good.
Yeah, it's always because my two. How old are your kids?
So I've got a 5-year-old and a 21-month-old.
Yeah, because I totally relate to that because my two youngest, they got 17 months difference in between them.
Hmm.
And the making them sleep is a big, big thing. Used
Yeah,
to be, but now they just fine now. Yeah.
one
So
day, one day.
yeah, one day, very soon. So let's talk about what you do and
How I
like
do it.
time management, how you do it. Yes, it's how you do it. Two businesses,
How
two
I do
young
it.
children.
Well, by trade, before I had children, I'm a project manager. So I'm
Mm-hmm,
quite an organised person. So I like organisation. I like planning. I like making sure that things are structured.
mm-hmm,
So I currently have two businesses. I have what is kind of almost a business consultancy, but I'm actually rebranding at the moment. So
mm-hmm,
I haven't decided what to call myself in my new stream. So what I do is I help busy parents who are with small children who are self-employed make their business work around their life. So we look at things like structure and organisation, look at the time that they've got to actually really spend on things. So we look at every facet that they're overwhelmed by, and then we come out with a plan to make it work. And
mm-hmm,
then I also have a health business as well. I make it all
mm-hmm,
work around the fact that I'm, in essence, a full-time mum. My 5-year-old is at school, but my 21-month-old, I have childcare for my mum for
mm-hmm,
2 days a week within school hours. So I make both businesses work within that by fitting it into my life.
mm-hmm. So how hard do you find it? Is it like most about it's about the organizational skill, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Some weeks can be challenging. If you've got poorly children, or you've
Mm-hmm,
got a 5-year-old who's off school, which he rarely is very sick, so I'm quite fortunate with that.
mm-hmm,
But if I've got my mum has other commitments, and if something crops up where she can't look after them, I don't have any alternative childcare, so I just have to either work late nights, which I do some
mm-hmm,
nights as well. I work those 2 days, so I hustle when my little one has his nap, which he generally does around lunchtime-ish.
mm-hmm,
I plan on the like maximum of an hour. If I get any longer, that's great. So I plan on having that hour to just get some work done. And what you need to do, and it doesn't really take much. You can do it in the time it takes to make a cup of tea, as long as you've got a plan for the next day, some idea of your top three priorities or your top one thing that you need to achieve, which you can literally do in your head while you're boiling a cup of tea when your children have gone to bed, or cutting your bit of cake. As long as
mm-hmm,
you've got a little bit of an idea about what you want to achieve the next day,
mm-hmm,
the worst thing to do is to ever sit down to do some work and have no idea of where you're going to start from.
mm-hmm,
If you're doing that, I'd always suggest having a complete utter blitz of all the things that you need to do. But I always recommend to all my clients to just have 2 minutes, which I will do after this call, um, of a small plan, 3 things or 5 things that you want to accomplish the next day. And so when you sit down to do them, you get them
mm-hmm,
done rather than faff around for ages or waste time on social media or on emails. You just literally do them. It makes such a difference to be organised the night before.
mm-hmm. So did you take days, they like probably just take day by day rather than planning full year ahead?
No, so I have
How
an
does it
idea about
work?
what I want. So
Mm-hmm,
I have my business goal.
mm-hmm,
I know what I want to achieve. And I always say to clients, have an idea about what it is that you're trying to do, what your ultimate goal is. Look
mm-hmm,
at how many hours that you've got on the week and make it realistic.
mm-hmm,
But always have that end goal in mind. So you might have so many things that are preying on your mind about what you want to do. Um, but if they don't in any way, shape, or form contribute to your end goal, you need to question whether you really need to do them. So I know what my goals are in my business. I want to help people who are self-employed, um, who have small children, make sense of what they're doing and make it work around their lives. So what I do is every week, my new intention, I have a blog every week, and after 4 weeks, I'm going to start turning them into podcasts. I find it difficult, as a lot of mums do or dads do with small children who are the primary carer, to get out to network in the groups. So I
mm-hmm,
spend a lot of time networking online. So I always have an intention of a kind of minimum, a maximum amount of time that I want to do that. I
mm-hmm,
have admin time. So I have quite a structured month about what I do. And then obviously I have my client calls as well, which I mostly do online. So it saves with travel, it saves with travel time, travel costs. It
mm-hmm,
it makes it easier. So for anyone who's in the same situation as me, literally all you need to do is, like we're doing now, jump on a call for an hour and get it sorted, rather than spend up to an hour each way traveling to meet me. So it
mm-hmm,
kind of, my whole ethos is that because I get where people are coming from when they haven't got much time. I don't either.
mm-hmm,
I make it work for them and I make it work for me as well. So I do have a kind of overarching monthly plan about what I want to achieve that month, how
mm-hmm,
many people I want to talk to that month, how much networking I want to do, how many blogs I want to write, how many podcasts ultimately I'm going to start doing. So I have a kind of that overarching monthly goal, but always with my focus on what I want to do in my business and where I'm going.
mm-hmm. Because the less time you have, your focus will be even more clearer, even more sharper.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
do
and
not
something that I
spend.
recommend. Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm,
what I do, and what I recommend, or what I sit down with every client and do, is really look carefully
mm-hmm,
at the time that they've actually got. So I have that Monday, I have that Thursday, and I when I can. So I have a chronic pain condition as well.
mm-hmm,
So sometimes it's difficult. So I have had a difficult period with it since Christmas, but generally I will stay up a few nights a week, quite late, and work. So when so all the other things that I need to do, I will stay up late and do that, and I don't mind doing that. I've
mm-hmm.
always said it's not big, it's not clever, but that's the situation for now. So you have to find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
I am a morning person generally,
Mm-hmm,
but like with a lot of parents, no matter how hard I might try or how early I might get up, my children
mm-hmm.
like to beat me to it. So it's really just a write off of getting anything done in the morning. So I make it work in the evenings as well.
Yeah.
Um, so with clients, it's really just about looking at what they've got available, finding out what they can do, assessing the hours they've got,
Mm-hmm,
and then looking at what they're trying to do and saying, can you really get all this done in the time that you've got? And often,
mm-hmm,
very often, they can't. And then we need to really look at what they need to put on the back burner, or what they need to put a hold on just for now to get the
mm-hmm,
other stuff out of the way, and kind of focus on what is going to make them money, what they enjoy, and some of the other stuff that they might want to do, the routes to market they want to work on. They just have to be realistic and just go, do you know what, it's not gonna work right now. At some point I can do it, but actually right now it's not gonna
mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah, and then you were tell me about the me time is also very important.
It is, yeah. And so
Mm-hmm,
I'm historically very, very bad at me time. So before I had children, I had obviously had a lot of me time.
mm-hmm,
I did a lot of different things. I did belly dancing, I did Zumba, I used to run nearly every day, I used to swim most days, go to
mm-hmm,
the gym. I ran several book groups. I did a lot of different things.
mm-hmm,
And then, as everyone will get, when you have children, that totally changes, and you sometimes lose a bit of yourself. So I would spend a lot of time reading when I was breastfeeding my little ones.
mm-hmm,
And for the past year, any reading I've done has been mainly personal development. So
mm-hmm,
my mental health, I realised 2 weeks ago, I miss reading. So I've started reading again, even if it's only for an hour or two a week. I've given myself that time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
When I can, because I love running, I love swimming. When I can, I will get back into that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would look with each client to find out what it is that helps them and helps their mental well-being. And we
Mm-hmm.
plan that in as well, whether that actually sometimes has to replace some of the working time that they've got.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's kind of their choice. And we have that discussion about whether they are comfortable and whether they are happy with replacing some of the potential working time with something like going to the gym, or whether they could fit it in at a different time, or whether they could get up in the morning early and do something then if it's something that they've not considered. So a lot of clients feel very guilty that they are sometimes working when the children come in from school, and I will chat to them about, well, actually, what are the alternatives that you've got? Can you do something earlier on in the morning? Can you be planned? Can you be structured? Can you do half an hour's work in the morning to give yourself the time back with the children when they come in from school? So everybody is totally different, completely different, and it's all about working with the individual as to what suits them and what is best for them and their working practice and their mental well-being as well. And I'm equally passionate about both. So I took kind of back a step when I had my second child.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very difficult pregnancy. It was a very difficult birth. A few
Mm-hmm.
months later, I ended up with postnatal depression and PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take that step back myself. And I hadn't really been doing a great deal of work back then. I was still on maternity.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take that step back and really reassess what I was doing and what I wanted out of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually when when I took my second business on and started with the health and wellness. But because it was so beneficial to me, that actually turned my life around and turned my postnatal depression around as well. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody is totally different. Everybody has different needs.
Yeah.
And I work with clients to discover what they are and then work a way to make that work as well.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want to tell us about the health and what what's it called? Airborne.
Arbonne, yeah.
Yeah.
So Arbonne is a health and
Airborne.
wellness
Yeah.
company. Yeah, Arbonne.
Yeah.
Arbonne is an amazing health and wellness company that has been going for
Uh-huh.
about 40 years. Well, 40 years this year.
Uh-huh.
And we everything is vegan and gluten free and cruelty free and gluten free and kosher, and just very natural.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a program, a kind of detox cleanse program called 30 Days to Healthy Living. And I was really struggling. October 2018. My little
Mm-hmm.
one was only a few months old, and I needed, as most mums do, to feel a little bit less like a beached whale, sort my hair out, sort my skin out. I felt dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of brain fog, and the postnatal depression was there as well. So I did this 30 Days to Healthy Living, which is pretty much just rethinking what you're eating, just eating healthier. It's 30 days cleanse, and then to kind of rethink what you're eating to healthy living at the end
Mm-hmm.
of it. And it's supported by supplements and shakes. And honestly, I was expecting to shift some weight and to sort my skin and sort my manky hair out from having a baby. And what I wasn't expecting was for the postnatal depression to lift. It was phenomenal. It was most unexpected. It still, when I talk about it, gives me goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
But I have ever since changed my attitude to food and the way I eat. Don't get me wrong, I still hide in the kitchen and eat chocolate when the children get me stressed out. I think that
Don't
should
we
always be
all?
every parent's prerogative, to hide in the kitchen and shove chocolate into your face,
Uh-huh.
and not let your children see you doing it while you're giving them the healthy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it completely changed my attitude to food, even though I was a good eater and I'm dairy free and I'm celiac. It changed my life as well, and the products themselves support the kind of the cosmetics and
Uh-huh.
the skincare and the body care all support the healthy living. So it's been quite
Mm-hmm.
a phenomenal effect on my life, that as well. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
passionate about Arbonne as well.
All right. So, like, how do you allocate your time between your two businesses?
Yeah, so I generally will spend time when my little one has a nap doing my Arbonne
Mm-hmm.
work, and doing a bit of social media engagement as well. And I have my Mondays and my Thursdays that I concentrate pretty much purely on my consultancy business, and we'll call it
Mm-hmm.
that for now until I've got a new name for my new direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then generally hasn't been the case for a couple of months, but generally I do work a few evenings as well. So I'll work when the children have gone to bed. I get a cup of tea, and I can sometimes be working till 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not unusual. I've been up till 3 or 4 before, just working on my business, making sure that everything is in place. If I'm rewriting my website, which I need to do soon, writing blogs. I've had client calls at 11 o'clock at night before, because that's when they've been available, and that's fine, because I can make that work. So generally, Arbonne is during that time, and everything else is the other time that I've got.
But like, it must be really hard to have that structure around kids, because they are so unpredictable creatures, aren't they?
Absolutely, which evidenced by the fact we're a few minutes later for the call, despite the fact that I ran them ragged in Newcastle today. Honestly, the little one ran around Newcastle, the streets of Newcastle, ran around Phoenix toy shop, and I was determined to exhaust them, before they went to bed. Still took an hour to go to sleep. So they are unpredictable, but the way I work it is that I know I've got that hour when he does nap, to do my Arbonne work. I know I've got that hour. And I know I have Mondays and I have Thursdays to do everything else. And I know that a couple of nights a week, at least, generally it's 3 nights a week, I can work late into the night. And so it doesn't matter when those nights are, as long as I know what I'm doing, I can get down and do it. So I kind of, yes, having children can be really unpredictable. And then you have to face scenarios like holidays, where it can be really tough and things can throw you out if the weather's really bad. And because I don't have any other, I generally have no childcare in holidays. So I share my mum with my sister, and she has twins, and sometimes my brother, who has 2 children as well. So I often share that. So I often lose, well, not often, I always lose working time during holidays. It generally goes down to at least a handful of hours a week. So then I have to pick up the slack somewhere. But actually picking up the slack just means that you need to reprioritize, and you really need to be strict about what it is that you need to do. And it often focuses you a little bit more. So I've talked in the past about power hours, or chunking, it can be called. But if you've only got an hour to do something, and you've got so many things to do in that hour, you get them done. If you've got all day to do 5 things, you can often spend all day doing 5 things. If all you have is 1 hour to do them, you blum and get them done in an hour, because they need to be done. That's the only time that you've got. So it can often make you really clear-headed and really focused about what you're doing.
And how do you switch between your work and then family? Is there any secret? Because you see, because you've got like 1 hour, your power hour, and then now it's a time for kids. And then
I'm really passionate about what I do work-wise, and I'm very passionate about being a mum as well. And I have slept recently, and we all sleep. I try really hard when I'm with my children to give them my time. So I keep my phone out of the way. Occasionally I'll come and check it. I might leave it in a different room, so I might just nip out of the room to check it, so they don't see me using it. What I don't like is to have my phone, and there are exceptions, of course there are. There are times when you need to keep your phone next to you because you're expecting a message or expecting a phone call or an email. It's okay, but just as a general rule, I try to keep my phone in a separate room and come and check it quickly if I need to, away from them, so they're not seeing me constantly with the phone in my hand. I don't like that. I like, when I pick them up from school until they go to bed, I try very hard to keep my phone. And I'm not saying I'm not perfect, and I do sometimes slip with it, but I've reinforced that in the past week, and it makes such a difference because they get quality time. And even if you can't give your children a massive quantity of time, that's okay. But the time that you've got with them, I focus on them. So I'm often found to be crawling on the floor, pretending to be a monster from Godzilla, or being leapt on, or leaping around the furniture with my children, or, my little one loves playing with pots and pans. So, stirring a pan on the floor with some pasta, or getting him help me to cook something, some dinner or something. So I try and give the best of me to whatever I'm doing at that time, and not hold in reserve, but make sure that I'm focused, and that I know that if I can give quality time to my work when I've got my kids, I can give them a quality time as well, and give the best of me to them.
yeah, sounds awesome. And
I'm
yeah,
not perfect, but as I say, even
no
Mary
one
Poppins is
is.
only practically perfect.
Yeah, we just try our best, don't we?
We do, and that's
Yeah,
fine, and our best
yeah,
is fine, and we need to sometimes realize that we aren't perfect, but as long as we're doing our best, and that's actually
what's
okay.
perfect?
Hmm.
Yeah, you see, okay, because I can like totally understand like from your perspective, because
Hmm.
you got this project management background and you
Hmm.
sound like very organized and you plan ahead a lot.
Hmm.
And if someone wants to work with you and got like
Hmm.
maybe a couple of children, and but they might be just all over the place because we don't know. Everyone's different, aren't they? What
And
would your
that's
advice
that's
would be?
that's
Uh-huh.
why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the people that are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I do the project managing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a client who was totally overwhelmed and I said, what I would tend to do with the client is let's say, tell me everything you've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you're stressed about. Give me everything. Tell me everything you're trying to do. We'll often look at things in their home life as well. I've had clients talk to me about commitments they've made, sporting commitments they've made, about family
Mm-hmm.
commitments that they need to make or that they want to make. And we talk about them, we factor them in. So if you're wanting to spend more time with a family member and you've been working too many hours, we talk about making time for that. If you're needing to go to the gym or swim for mental health reasons, we talk
Mm-hmm.
about that and we factor that in. So every client, I really only exist because people do have that overwhelmed nature
Mm-hmm.
and can't figure it out, because if they could figure it out for themselves, then what I would have no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the people that are overwhelmed and struggling. I want those
Mm-hmm.
because then I can actually sit down with them. And part of the process that I really love is when they tell me everything they're overwhelmed by, it's kind of quite cathartic. So
Mm-hmm.
that as a result of telling me everything, they start to feel a little bit clearer headed. They've
Mm-hmm.
given themselves some mental space.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that before as well. So
Mm-hmm.
getting everything out, telling me everything, talking to
Mm-hmm.
me, starts to give someone some mental space, and as they're talking, they can often realize that they're trying to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
So we then look at maybe it's a bit of that. We always get some kind of action plan. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a session with me, you will always come away with several actions that to go away and do. But what I'm all about is making things more productive, but keeping it as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we can often look at tech that somebody's using, and I sign up to, as I'm sure everybody does, sign up to so many things to try and do and commit. And I'll try this for my account, so I'll try this, it doesn't work. I'll try this for scheduling, and I'll try this as well, and I'll try this for something else, and I'll try this for
Mm-hmm.
design. I'll try this as well. I'll sign up to several podcasts, and there's just too much technology going on often, that
Yeah.
especially if you're on a part-time basis or you're working
Mm-hmm.
from home, you can't keep up with it all. So I'm not afraid to say to people, get rid of it. Don't do that. You don't need to use that. What do you actually need to achieve from it? What do you need? How complicated do your accounts need to be? Right, they don't need to be desperately complicated. Do you need a kind of account system? No, right, let's
Mm-hmm.
just use a spreadsheet. Yes, you do. Right, okay, which one suits you? Do you need to be doing it all yourself? Can you hire somebody in to do something for you? Do you need to
Mm-hmm.
write your website yourself? Do you need to take your photos yourself? Do you need to write copy? Do you need to do your own social media? So we look at every facet that someone is worried about and that is trying to do in their business, and look at everything, every option around it. So whether it's
Mm-hmm.
removing it completely or actually making it a priority or actually delegating it to somebody else. We look at things like saying no. Some people find it very, very difficult to say no to things. We look at things like if someone is going to a fair regularly
Mm-hmm.
or different fairs throughout the year,
Mm-hmm.
having a real good think about whether they're productive or not, or whether they're actually it's worth going to that fair, because some people get into just a bit of a habit of going to things. So we look at
Yeah.
all manner of and a range of things,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on the business and it depends on the individual. But my mantra is keeping it simple.
Yeah. Like they hoping to sell something or they just
Mm-hmm.
go there because there is a fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I often get people as a task to go and actually look back at what they've done in the past, and look back at all the fairs that they've gone to historically and actually do a bit of a tally about what they've actually sold.
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes they can be a bit surprised about what they've sold, and it can help people make better informed choices
Mm-hmm.
as to what they will actually take with them next
Mm-hmm.
time. It's often the case, in spring where people want earrings and they want necklaces, and then
Mm-hmm.
coming up to Christmas, if it's a jewelry maker, coming to Christmas, people might want a set. So it's kind of going back and historically looking at what they've sold and making a better choice about the stock that they take,
Mm-hmm.
and having a better expectation about the kind of the money they will make from somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and having a bit of we can often get caught up in just doing the do, and getting on with it. And because people are overwhelmed, they're so preoccupied with just getting on with it and putting their head down and fighting through that overwhelm, and fighting through that muddle. And I often picture, I don't know if anyone who's watching will remember the Mr. Men, but Mr. Muddle is kind of the one that is pink, and he's just loads and loads of different squirrels, and swirls, and he looks
Mm-hmm.
like you want to just get a comb and just untangle him. So what in my head people are coming to me with is just a kind of feeling of that overwhelm, and I can picture that in my head if I'm ever overwhelmed by anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what my job really is to get a comb and start to tease those tangles out. And
Uh-huh.
so they'll go from being kind of Mr. Messy, Mr. and Mrs. Overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
to something a lot calmer. So I think there's a Mr. Calm as well.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of leaving my house without all those swirls and things going on in the head. And I can actually see the overwhelm lift, or die
Mm-hmm.
down as
Yeah,
I'm
you can
talking to
just
people, and
see the
giving, yeah,
change.
it can.
Uh-huh.
And you can
Uh-huh.
see shoulders kind of that are all hunched up and with stress when people come in.
Mm-hmm.
Just literally relaxing, and kind of the magic words are when I say to somebody, how do you feel now? We've got some actions in place. We've got our plans.
Mm-hmm.
I can hold you accountable. If you want me to, how do you feel? And when I get that, not
Mm.
overwhelmed. That's great. We've got a plan, and I feel like I've got some actions, and I feel like I can actually go and do something, and that's just magic to my ears.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking now, because you work with some moms, don't you? You
Mums and
started
dads.
your moms and dads. You started
Yeah.
working with them, and then just even some people who doesn't have a kids, or maybe their kids grown up, if they are disorganized, they're still overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I've been working currently with people who are from all walks of life, and might have children who are older. I've
Mm-hmm.
currently have started to niche down a bit. So it is generally going forward, I will be working with parents who have small children. In
Mm-hmm.
which case, I mean, kind of really children who can't be left by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
who need that parental supervision, and working with the mums and dads with those smaller children. I'm not averse to working with anybody else if they need my help, but
Mm-hmm.
actually what I wasn't doing, I don't think, was being very specific about who I was working with, and I work with a massive range of people. But I think that I'm best suited at this time in my life to help people who have a situation most like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that I can't help somebody else, because I absolutely can. But because those people will actually know that I get it, and know that I've got the same struggles that they've got.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we all have a different life, we all have different issues, but essentially, those of us with small children have the same basic issues
Mm-hmm.
about the guilt that we feel when we're working if our children are there, the guilt that we feel that we're sometimes working anyway and not just looking after them full time. So I get all that. I do all that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also on the PTA for school, so I kind of have those commitments as well.
Mm-hmm.
Was on the PTA for my son's old nursery. I've literally stopped that for now. I'm debating
Mm-hmm.
starting a networking group. So I get it. I get the
You're
commitments. I
debating
have,
to start networking groups, did you just
yeah,
say?
yes, debating,
Okay. Uh-huh. So is that
debating.
like, if it's yes, is it going to be the people who got young children? Or
Yeah, well, no information as yet. I don't know. I'd been wanting to do it for a while. The
uh-huh.
problem is that not many networking groups allow small children to come along.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do take them to one, it's rather distracting, and you can actually never have a proper conversation. So
Yeah.
I've presented at two networking groups and I've had to take both boys with me to both networking groups. And it was, one of them was for Biz Mums with Helen Madison, and it was in Durham. And so I drove over with both children. They hold it at somewhere that has a soft play, which I thought would be perfect for my oldest. It actually wasn't. It was perfect for him playing, but what I hadn't counted on was that every couple of seconds I'd be getting, Mum, come and have a look at me do this. Mum, come in with me and play with me. Mum, can you slide down
Yeah.
slide? And then while the other one,
Uh-huh.
it was on a ledge and there was a big step down, while the other one crawled and ran around and tried to throw himself under the chairs that we had blocking off the
Uh-huh.
exit for him. So
Uh-huh.
that was rather trying. And the other
Mhm.
one was Amy Purdy's group,
Uh-huh.
one of her networking groups. And I took both of them with me and was talking, had taken to both of them a large presentation to do. They both ended up being a handful of people, which was actually quite good because I then did a very tailored chat. So yes, again, I'd taken snacks and toys for the children to play with, but that made no difference because they wanted me. So I did some discussion while breastfeeding. I did handed them snacks. I was talking, but I did a very much a one-to-one. So I would ask someone individually what their issues were, and I kind of give them some advice there and then. So
Uh-huh.
actually, I love doing that rather than doing a big stand-up presentation. Just getting someone to tell me their issues and giving them several things they could literally take away and implement straight away. And that's what I won't, if I'm sitting down with a client, I'm not airy fairy. I'm very matter of fact, very productive
Uh-huh.
on their behalf, but I want something that's effective and that they can take away and implement straight away. I don't, I can recommend books that someone can go and read. And I actually had a session with someone who I talked about a book, and he went away and not only bought that book, but bought every single book that was recommended in that book as well, and read them all and put me to shame. But that was one kind of, it really shows when you give someone advice and they go and actually take it,
Yeah.
and then to have to see the effect that it's had on them is perfect. So I'm all about proper advice, actions to take away. I will hold someone accountable for the actions that they do. I will check up with them to make sure they're okay, and it's not in a scary kind of a way. It's just a kind of, I do everything with kindness. So it's all about making
Yeah.
sure that somebody is okay with what they're doing, and if they're not, then can I help them do it differently?
Yeah, exactly. So, like when you say it's about accountability, and then one of your favorite quote was, "If you wait until everything's become perfect, if you wait until we are ready, we'll be waiting for the rest of our lives."
Absolutely. And
Uh-huh.
perfect from Lemony Snicket as well, since
Yeah.
I have book selling and publishing in my past. So I'm currently, so as an example of that myself, I'm currently rebranding, having made the decision to just really work with parents of self-employed parents of small children. So I need a new name. I want to revamp my website. I need a new logo, but I'm not waiting until I've got all that ready before I start working with clients. I am actually working with the clients now, and in the background working on everything else. Working
Yeah.
on my blogs that are more pertinent to that. They're less kind of business like than I've been doing. I wrote a blog last week about big man pants.
Uh-huh.
When your children are poorly and you've been poorly, you literally and you've got things to do, you literally just have to put it all to one side, put your big man pants on, and get on with it. You don't have any choice. No matter how tired you might be, no matter how much you might crave sleep because you've been ill for several days, you
Yeah.
can't. And it's kind of in that vein. I'm writing one at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll finish it tomorrow. That is about boundaries. So thinking about when you are self-employed and you have small children, there are no right or wrong choices, I don't think, but there are choices that you need to make that are right for you. So
Yeah.
I talk about different things like the age of your children, or spending quality time, spending whether meetings are worth it. So I have a range, I think, of about 10 topics, I guess, that you
Mm-hmm.
just need to think about and consider and make the decision that's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, that's my blog. Will be hot off the press tomorrow. Be released tomorrow. So a little inside information to anyone watching on that blog.
It's about boundaries.
And yeah, about boundaries. And I can't remember what I've called it. I can tell you if you give me seconds.
Uh-huh.
I've got my notebook. Yeah, right.
You publish it
Got my notebook here.
on your website first, and then it's
On my website. Yeah,
all right.
on my website. I think I've got. I don't think I've got the right notebook, but yeah, it's around thinking about the boundaries as a parent and the different things that you have to consider. As I say, no right or wrong choices. No one is going to judge you on them, but you just need to make those choices for you and make sure that they're the right ones for you and your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got plenty more planned. Like Only Mary Poppins is practically perfect. Why it's okay to hide in the kitchen and eat chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
I have several guests lined up, and I'm going to be asking several more to come and talk to me about what they do, because actually everyone is different, and sometimes what you do can be inspired by somebody else.
Exactly.
Really ways to work out what the time you have is available, thinking about what does success mean to you, not comparing yourself to somebody else, because we're all different and have different circumstances. It's really
Mm-hmm.
important that we focus on what we want to achieve ourselves, whether that's £200 a month or £2,000 a month or £20,000 a month, whether it's a monetary goal or whether it's a goal of however many hours you want to achieve or the number of clients you want to have, or all of those together. Make your goal for yourself and celebrate your success when you have it, and celebrate what's successful for you. If you're earning £200 and somebody else is earning 2,000, if what you want to earn is £200, then that's fantastic. That's your success.
Yeah.
And don't feel that you need to feel small in comparison to somebody else who's earning a lot more. We're all different. We all have different challenges, and it's about taking those into account and being proud of what you achieve.
Exactly. So I remember you mentioned you planned out your list, like whole blog list for this year.
I've got a list. Yeah, I've got a list of
Uh-huh.
52 blogs for this year. So I have already, well, I've written one. I've got the next one to write. I might write a couple tomorrow. I've been
Uh-huh.
asked to write a guest blog, so I will get that written tomorrow as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I've written a handful of them, I plan to start my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to wait until I've got my business name before I do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I'm quite excited about a podcast as well. Really excited. They will be quite short, about 20
Mm-hmm.
minutes maximum,
Uh-huh.
because what I'm all about is keeping it short and simple
Yeah.
and easily accessible for people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to getting to grips with that as well. And I love writing blogs, and it's a bit of a different style for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
historically have written quite a lot of blogs. They're all very business-like and looking at how to make you more productive. So the new range of blogs that I have are more me. They're all about slightly tongue-in-cheek, slightly
Uh-huh.
cheeky, talking about the situation you're in and making it work alongside work. So some of them are more work orientated, like thinking about the hours that you've got and how you can actually make that work for you. But some of them are, again, like things like how to it's okay to eat chocolate in the kitchen, hide from your children, it's okay. And so some of them are about work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one planned on actually approaching and thinking about how to work when you've got PTSD or postnatal depression, and reaching out to mums. I've got some planned on parents or
Mm-hmm.
parents to be who
Mm-hmm.
are potentially thinking about self-employment or who are on maternity leave and
Yeah.
may not want to go back to the life work life they had before they
Mm-hmm.
fell pregnant.
Yeah.
Because that it makes such, and thank you to you for your inspiration for those earlier. It makes such a change. I've been thinking about it all day. It makes such a difference when you have children. It really hits you hard, and
Yeah.
a lot of people, myself included, aren't ready to go back to the many hours a week that I used to work, traveling
Mm-hmm.
to Durham University and getting to my desk an hour before everybody else and working to 5:30 strictly, and then coming home and doing all manner of things of an evening. I have a very different life now, and I have to kind of take that into account. So definitely
Yeah.
want to reach out to people who are wondering how to make a change, wondering what to make a change to, or how they can actually even contemplate making that change and how to make
Yeah.
money work. So yeah, I'm adding to my list
Mm-hmm.
with those blogs as well. So I'm quite excited about that. It was a
Yeah.
fabulous inspiration. Thank you for that one, Suki.
It's like a planning for family as well, isn't it? Because I was
Yeah,
thinking, like
absolutely.
maybe like having a baby, and especially like the first couple of months, the babies always sleep. They sleep, sleep, sleep. And then,
Hmm.
'cause if you work 9 to 5 and then work like for long, you
Hmm.
get bored and just
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you need something to keep you sane.
You
Yeah,
do when you've already started, and at
quite
least I
selfish
did
reason.
with my
Yeah.
first.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but and I think you're not prepared for losing a sense of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
forgetting who you are
Exactly.
amidst changing nappies, feeding however you feed,
Mhm.
being up every hour that God sends in the night, feeding your child, and you're not ready for sleep deprivation either
Oh my
at
God.
all. The sleep deprivation hits you like a ton of bricks, and it never gets
Mm-hmm.
easier. You just get more used to it. Um, so kind of keeping it real, but also thinking, if you're sitting there in the middle of the night doing the feed and trying not to fall asleep, but wondering how you can actually do all that on top of a full-time job, it's
Mm-hmm.
just to say to people that you don't have to. If you don't want to, there are other options there. Um, and I would never make anybody do anything. I would never judge anybody for any choices that they made, for anything. But it's just actually showing somebody that there is a different route, and that I've taken that route. I've been self-employed now for nearly 3 years, after however many years, 20 years of working, more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And, 2 degrees later, and a lot of different jobs, a lot of different temp jobs and short-term contracts later, I currently doing what I do now have never, ever been happier in a job. And I've worked since I was 14. So I don't say that's kind of encroaching upon nearly 30 years worth of work
Mm-hmm.
alongside school, alongside university twice. It's a long time of working to never feel like I'm doing the thing that's right for me and the thing I'm meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I take comfort in is that everything that I've done up till now has led me to where I'm meant to be. So I kind of adore what I do now. I love helping people, and I've never
Mm-hmm.
been more satisfied in a job ever.
Yeah. And that comes to your other lovely quote that
Hmm.
do not let anyone go spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without living happier.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
everyone
So
comes
I
to you and live happy.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
my goal in life, and not just in business. I try to very hard. My values that I instill in my children, and that I abide by myself, are to be kind, to be friendly, and to look after people, and to be
Mhm.
happy, and make other people happy. And kindness, I think, is the way forward. There's been a lot of talk in the press, and I think we can forget about it a lot, and it can become secondary, but actually it should be the primary thing in our lives. And I think that with kindness costs nothing, a smile costs
Exactly.
nothing.
Mhm.
And a smile doesn't just brighten up somebody else's life, it brightens up your life. You can't, no matter how down you can be, a smile will always help you feel a little bit happier.
Mhm.
So yeah, so my mission in life is, as the quote says, just whoever comes to me, to help people, to be kind to people, to be generous, and do what I can to make somebody else's life a little bit easier in work and in life.
Mhm. I love it. Yeah, we've gone nearly like 47 minutes. Can I just ask what makes you smile, like laugh a lot?
What makes me smile? My children.
Uh-huh.
My children make me laugh every day. They're hilarious. My little one, who's 21 months, is so funny. He never goes anywhere to walk. He just literally runs everywhere. He goes so fast around the house, he often falls over when he's coming out one door and going into another. So
Uh-huh.
our kitchen leads into our dining room, and there's a door out into the hallway and then into the living room. And he literally goes at full pelt round the house, and he'll often just go flying because he's going so fast on an angle that he just falls over. He's so funny. He's so kind. He sings to himself all the time. He's just lush. My
Uh-huh.
5-year-old has a wicked sense of humour. A wicked sense of humour. He makes me laugh. My husband makes me laugh.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't be with him if he didn't. So I very much was looking for a man with a sense of humour who could make me laugh. I've got a
Uh-huh.
wicked black sense of humour as well. Um, and so yeah, we used to go to an awful lot of comedy when we first got
Mhm.
together. And thankfully we have the same sense of humour. So if I didn't have my 3 boys making me laugh and keeping me sane, then I don't think life would be as good as it is. But yeah, despite tough times that everyone has in their life, my husband and I can still laugh together, and I think that pulls you through everything. And my parents are hilarious as well. My dad has got a great sense of humour. And my mum is just so kind and is kind of my idol, who I take after in helping people and being kind. She used to be a nurse, and was the best nurse that I've ever known. So my family, I guess, is what makes me happy and what makes me smile, and my boys make me laugh a lot every day.
Oh, fabulous.
And scream.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So, yeah, and thanks very much for your time. And it's been absolute pleasure to have you on ImPossible Conversation.
Well, thank you for asking me. It's been fantastic.
Incredible. Yeah. And thank you very much. And next
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah. And next week I got John Waite from A1 Advertise One, and really looking forward to that as well. And thank you everyone for watching, and thank you, Laura. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Suki. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.